Save the Semantics, episode 118. It is July 3rd, 2020. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on about myself, things that I may have seen in the news, social media, all that good stuff, and wrap it up in this rambling ball of a mess of a discussion, if you can even call it that. It's been a week, more or less. This last week has been kind of weird. Not very structured, I would say. And it's definitely felt, especially these last few days, it's definitely felt. I'm feeling the quarantine kind of sort of cabin fever, you could say. Even though it's already been like four months or so, maybe more than that. But like up until this point, like I've talked about, like, trying not to go crazy, being locked up in your house, and I know that like sanctions and sort of like rules are kind of a bit more soft or a bit less strict now, but still, like I still feel the need to kind of stay inside, which is what most people should do in a sense, but considering the circumstances and everything going on, I understand why people are going to be out and about in regards to like protesting and that sort of thing, and people that need to work, that have to go to work and they're not able to maybe claim unemployment or other benefits, then they got to go into work and that kind of thing. So major props to those people. It's a little warm right now, surprisingly. Getting a little warm. But yeah, I've definitely been feeling it a little bit in terms of just kind of getting caught up in not the hysteria, but just sort of, going a little wonky up in my head, because like I feel like I've definitely felt at times during this period where I've like, I'm going a little bit, haywire. Not really, but then again, yeah, it's like not really, it's like not really to the extent of like actual cabin fever, because I'm not, you're not locked in place like how they did in China at the very beginning of their whole, outbreak. So it is, it's a different situation, but I'm still, just sort of feeling that kind of effect of being stuck and kind of going through the motions, But then again, it's like, is it really all that different from what it would have been if, the virus hadn't broken out? Maybe not, because, like, again, I've mentioned this a bunch of times, but, like, my routine is generally pretty mundane for the most part. Like, if you could describe it that. Just because, like, I don't really do a whole lot of... I don't do a bunch of extracurricular, not as much as I used to, back when, like in high school or even like the beginning of college, where I was kind of doing a lot more. But yeah, I think the one thing that's sort of been just weighing on me is just like my sleep schedule has been kind of screwy, at least the last few days. I was keeping track of my sleeping hours like for a little bit of time, but like this past week I've just kind of gave up. I'm just like, fuck it, I don't need to log this shit in. But no, it really does like help. Like it really does help maintaining like a consistent sleep schedule. Like right now I'm just like, I feel fatigued and I'm tired. I didn't really do a whole lot today. Like I've just I worked a little bit, but I didn't really do a whole lot much else except study. We can get into how that's been going, but But yeah, but like my sleep has been just sort of inconsistent. You know, like I want to stay up late because I'm like trying to enjoy the most out of the time that I have. But it's like I need to sleep too, you know. But it is really like kind of crazy how much of an impact your sleep can have on your like overall mood and that sort of thing. And I think just like I've sort of like I haven't given up, but like I've kind of I haven't really kept myself in check for a little while now. So I'm like I'm really sort of half asleep kind of mood right now, which I'm not a fan of. Like, I was much more awake and alert, I felt like, last week or the last 2 weeks, but this week I'm just been kind of slogging through. And on top of that, just to sort of expand on what I wanted to talk about in terms of like studying and that sort of thing, I started last week studying for the CPA exam. You know, it's not really a full commitment or whatever, you know, but I've been trying to put in work, and it's hard to keep at it because, like, for one, I don't have a set schedule or deadlines to meet, you know, at least not yet, not until like I actually schedule for the first exam and you know, complete my application and that sort of thing. But it's just been like I felt like for the most part I was doing okay. I'd say it's just been like the last few weeks that I started, but I felt like I was doing like a decent job keeping track of my work and whatnot. But it's just been, man, it's a grind, like trying to get through a lot of this because there's so much material to cover. It's not surprising, obviously, but it is a lot, and like when each like section of like a unit has just so much information to cover, like it's just like, well, fuck, man, how the fuck am I gonna get through this shit? You know, it's perseverance and all that, you know, but yeah, it's just I've definitely felt moments of just like hitting a wall in terms of keeping motivated in terms of studying and that sort of thing, and along with just me kind of feeling a little burnt out just from, you know, finishing school relatively recently. You know, now it's been about a few weeks, about a month since I've graduated. So yeah, it's just kind of like to kind of jump right back into it and essentially continue to school myself right after finishing school might have been kind of, you know, a bit questionable, but like I felt like fine just sort of going into it. Like I think for me, when it comes to working on stuff, like working on an assignment or whatever, I usually try to start as early as I can. This sounds like an interview like question, you know. It's like, what's your work ethic like? No, but that's how it is. Like I tried my best to kind of get shit started early, because then the workload is not going to be as much later on down the line. I don't have to cram. I've mentioned plenty of times that I don't cram for exams. Just don't do that shit. It's not healthy. At least for me, it doesn't work for me. But yeah, it's been difficult to concentrate just because all the distractions and shit. And it's like, why do I want to do this when I can, like, you know, put my energy to other things? But it is important. It is important to stay on top of things. But yeah, I've just kind of been riding along and not really feeling it too much, you could say. But that's that. In terms of like academics and that kind of thing. I could say the weather's been pretty nice. That's one positive out of everything going on. I feel like congested for some reason. Don't worry, it's not. I highly doubt it's what it is, but yeah, I don't know. I think again, I think it's just the sleep. I think I just need more sleep, more consistent sleep. It's healthy for sure because like I when I was keeping track, at least for like the 2 weeks when I first started, I was sleeping like pretty well, 8 hours a day, which is just right. But I also want to stay up late, and sometimes I have to get up early, but I want to stay up late. It's such a dilemma, what a difficult situation to ponder. Should I go to sleep early and get a healthy amount of sleep, or should I stay up late watching the same video again? Like, this is like, oh man, this is weighing those options there. Gives me such a fucking headache. But it's just like, I want to, I don't know. I just want to watch more things. I should get back into like reading more consistently. I haven't really done that. I say that every fucking episode, but it's true. I do want to try to read more consistently, whatever that may be. Always on the bucket list. Getting back into reading, some way, somehow. Again, like I've had periods, relatively recently where where I was like, oh shit, I start a new book. It's kind of exciting. I haven't read a book in a while, but then it's just like I fall into the habit of where I lose interest in the book. And I've heard a lot of perspectives when it comes to reading, where they talk about like if you lose interest in a book and there's nothing in the book that really captures your attention, then you just kind of move on. You kind of move on to the next thing. And my next thing for me is just like watching YouTube, right? Essentially, kind of giving up on the reading in a sense. But I want to. I haven't really found a book that's really been engaging. Like I said, I've started reading End of Policing, and I'm a little bit through that, but not very much. I'm only like on the second or third chapter, just because it's a lot of, it's a lot of studies and that kind of thing, which is interesting for sure. But in terms of like a story or narrative, it's not like it doesn't have that hook. So yeah, I'm trying to see what is a good starting point for me in terms of like what I can sort of dig my teeth into, because I really do want to try to read. The unfortunate thing is like I usually borrow books from the library, but right now it's kind of limited in terms of like what books I can take and whatnot. I'll have to kind of look into it, like if I can, because they may have opened back that service, and I can start trying to check out books again like I used to. Libraries are valuable, man. They are. Not to sound all hippy dippy and shit, but it's true. Libraries are they're very that's like the one, like, of course it's like the one like public service that I feel like is very beneficial. I mean, of course there's a bunch of things, but in terms of like recreational, like reading and just kind of having that space for kids and for other people, like I think is very, very valuable in like a community and that sort of thing. So I've been very fortunate to kind of have that growing up. And I've had like the same library card for such a long time now. It's been like probably 10 plus years, I think. I've had that library card, and when I first started using it and borrowing books from the library. Yeah, I've been doing that for a while now. And I just haven't had the motivation, or I just haven't had the interest to pick something up. Like I was reading this one book called 10% Happier. It's essentially kind of like a self-help kind of thing, a little bit, just because I was like feeling like like reading something like that. And it was pretty good for like a good part of it. Like, it was interesting. It's by I forgot his name, but it's by this one newscaster, journalist, and he sort of talks about his experience of being a journalist, how he went like overseas and was like reporting on like I think it was like in Afghanistan, so the war that was going on in Afghanistan, and so sort of like the trauma that he experienced during that time, and the fact, or like not necessarily like the trauma, but like he was sort of he became god damn, my voice is fucking cracking like crazy. He became like addicted to pursuing like the news, right? Like finding the next big story and that sort of thing, like very kind of Nightcrawler sort of mindset. And in sort of in that process, he also kind of became addicted to using drugs. I think it was like cocaine and that kind of thing. So he sort of was like trying to seek out some help, and he was like, what is the best way to help me get better? Help me sort of maintain my composure when it comes to kind of thing. Because like the thing that like triggered him to sort of seek out help and sort of seek out change was that he like had like a panic attack on live TV, which I can't imagine. Like, Jesus Christ, like I've like fucked up on like live radio, like I fucked up a bunch of times, but to like, I mean, that's not even necessarily like a fuck up. It's just like, your body just kind of shuts down, like mentally. Like that's gotta be terrifying with just like all these people seeing, and just like, man, I can't imagine being in that position. But I can definitely empathize. So he sort of, that was sort of like the trigger for him to get out and sort of seek help. Like he was doing like therapy and taking like small doses of medication and that kind of thing, but he got into like meditation and sort of like Eastern practices, Buddhism and that sort of thing. So it was interesting seeing, like he was very much like, seeing these things from the perspective of an outsider, like myself. Like I was sort of viewing this this event he was describing, or his like series of events of going to like a what is it? What the fuck is it called? Going out on not a mission. Oh my god, this is embarrassing. Where like you go out, it's like you're out in an area where you don't have your cell phone and that sort of thing, like a retreat. There you go. Like he went out on a retreat, and for like a week he didn't speak to anyone except for like people that were his like mentors, like his meditative mentors and that sort of thing. Like I just it's like, sort of the stretches that you would go to try to kind of seek out help is sort of crazy to think about. I mean, he didn't necessarily do anything like insane, but that level of meditation, I don't know if I could possibly do that. But then again, I don't know. I've never like pushed myself to that sort of degree of having to like close myself off. Well, not close myself off, but like kind of, it's more like open myself up to meditating in that sort of sense. Because I'm even myself, I've never really practiced meditation. I've maybe tried to do it, but I just I lack the patience to continue doing it, and I'm not necessarily the most diligent when it comes to that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. Like I've thought about like what it would be like if I had sort of put some of my energy to doing that kind of stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's for me. But then again, I don't. It's sort of the knock. Jesus fucking Christ! I thought I swallowed a bug. don't knock it till you try it kind of mentality, you know. So who knows? Maybe maybe I'll go on a Buddhist retreat in the next few years if shit hits the fan, things don't work out. I kind of bottom out. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it was interesting seeing it from his perspective, sort of the experiences that he had with that. And just kind of applying it to myself, because like he did sort of pertain it to how the book was, you know, it is a self-help book, but it is also something where he's, you know, recounting his experiences and that sort of thing. So, but then again, I didn't finish it. I'm maybe like, I don't know, 100 pages in, which is not a lot. No, I think I'm a little more than that. So maybe I'll finish it. You know, there's really not a whole lot left. But again, it's like, am I gonna finish it? I don't know. I don't think I've really finished like a book in recent memory. I feel like, you know, which is kind of sad. But again, I just gotta find the time, you know, for me to kind of do it. Because I have time, you know, like right now I have a little bit of time to spend on other things, but it's just all a matter of, you know, divesting some energy from watching YouTube and Netflix and put it towards something else, you know, and sort of that kind of thing. I did get a VPN recently. I subscribed to a VPN. So I'm going to be trying that out. Well, I have been already using it. I've been able to watch like some things from Netflix in other countries, which has been great. Rick and Morty is not in the U.S., but it is in like France and in Britain. So I've been, you know, using the networks from the UK and Paris to connect to Netflix and watch Rick and Morty, you know. So that's been cool. There's other like TV shows and movies that aren't on US Netflix. So maybe I'll check out some of them later tonight. But we will see. I don't know. I don't know what I'm kind of in the mood for, you know. It really depends of what. Like it's like right now, like I said, like I'm just like kind of fatigued from just, I don't know, my own bullshit. Like there's just not really much else. But like I want to kind of keep, you know, being creative in some regards, you know. Like I've been, you know, messing around with my keyboard still. I've kind of accepted that I won't ever get to a point where I could like be, you know, very professionally practiced, because I just don't, you know, I've never been that way in regards to instruments or you know, music or that kind of thing. Maybe it's a part of me kind of wants to sort of embrace that, but again, that's like work, you know. It's like, and I don't know if I could really devote myself to piano lessons, you know. So I've just kind of limited myself to playing like small melodies here and there, you know. But it's nice. Like it feels nice being able to like put out like just even like a small, you know, sample of a song, you know. So it's been cool. I'm glad that I have that to kind of keep me busy in a sense. And yeah, that's probably gonna do it for today. I don't have a whole lot else to report or just really talk about. So we're gonna leave it at that. This has been Save the Semantics, signing off.